Hello, good morning. Hopefully you can hear me. Welcome to the very first ever Sensitive Artist Sunday. If you are watching this live, I'm very excited to have you. If you are not watching this live, which I'm guessing is probably going to be the most of you that watch this video, thank you for joining me on my channel. This show is meant to be a time for people to, particularly artists, especially writers. I'm a writer. If you don't know who I am, I'm an independent writer, which means I run my own shop. I do all my own writing, obviously, all my own marketing, all my own everything. It gets to be a big spinning mess. So this is a time primarily for me and anyone else who wants to join me to just kind of be quiet and let go of what's happened this week and maybe talk out some stuff about what's happened this week. Either celebrate or commiserate, or if you're looking for some encouragement, this is where you can come. So I'm going to start, not in the normal way that most YouTube videos start. I'm going to ask everyone to just breathe and let it all go. And then I will ask you to like and subscribe to my channel if you feel so inclined. If it feels premature because this is my first video, so if you want to wait until the end, or if you want to wait until my next video, that's fine too. It does help since this is a new channel, this is a new series, and it is meant to be interactive. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. Now, because this is the first episode, I guess we can call it an episode. I'm guessing the chat's going to be pretty quiet, but if you do show up and you are here, please say hello, drop your name, drop where you're in from, and let's go with tell me something good that happened this week to you. We'll start positive. Or if you have any questions for me, if you have any questions about my work, if you already know who I am, if you have the question of who the hell are you, I'll get to that in a second, but you could ask that too. Or if you have any questions about where I am, I know I've got a lot of stuff around here. The flag and the Jesus, I'm guessing, might scare some people. There are stories behind both of them. They're not what you think, probably. So feel free to ask about those if you want. Live or in the comments, I'll check these and I'll get back to you. But since, like I said, I anticipate the chat being pretty quiet on this first video, so I will use it as a time to explain kind of what I'm hoping for this series, and maybe most importantly, why I'm doing this. So as I said, I'm a writer. I'm an independent writer. And which means that I don't have an agent. I don't have a traditional publishing contract. I don't have a publishing house. I don't have a publicist at the moment. And so I'm doing a lot of that myself. And it's all necessary and it's all great. It's not great. A lot of it's very stressful a lot of the times. And a lot of it can get in the way of, especially as you get further and further into your career, it does feel like a lot of it is about playing a game. And it does become very much a job where you are analyzing market trends, you're analyzing all of this stuff, you're taking in all of this information. And sometimes, and it'll happen different times in people's careers. And it'll, sometimes it can, everything can be going fine and something will change and you start to lose the joy and the reason why you were brought here in the first place. So that's kind of why I started this. I'm going to tell a story here. Bear with me. Like I said, I'm an author, and that's all I've ever wanted to be, was a writer of some kind. It started with an author and then it went to other things. And for a while, I thought I would be a playwright. When I went to college, that's what I thought I wanted to be. Lawrence University, go Packers. Lawrence is in Appleton, but it's close enough to Green Bay. And I went thinking that I was going to double major in theater arts and English, and I was going to be a playwright. I ended up minoring in theater arts, but I basically did what I was going to do. And I, learned great things. Everyone at the school was wonderful. And since then, I've gone on to do various things, both in on stage, in film, and most recently over the last 6 or 7 years as a novelist. But one of the happiest times I remember in my life was when I was in college. Me and my best friend, and still one of my favorite people in the world, Amy, we founded a community, whatever, as close to a community theater as you can get at college. And that was because the theater department would not let freshmen write and produce their own work, which we thought was very unfair. I guess, looking back, I can see the reason behind it, but still, I feel like I understand my 19-year-old self as well, and my desire. Since we were both, we wanted to be playwrights, and it was like, well, we have to learn how to write for the stage, and the best way to do that is to write for the stage and have it be put on, and the sooner the better. So we founded this community group, and we called it the Artistic Masturbation Theater. And the reason behind that was twofold. It was, one, to shock people, because 19 years old at a liberal arts school, that's kind of part of the reason you're there. And the second reason was because we wanted a place where we could do whatever we wanted without worrying about either where we were going to get the money, whether money would come in, or really what anyone thought about it. We just wanted to do work that was important to us, that we enjoyed doing, basically that I think made each other laugh. I know Amy entertained me with her stuff, and I hope I did for her as well, and our friends. And that was sort of it. And the rest of it was all secondary. And looking back, that first year, we put on 2 shows. We each did a 1-act play. That first year was one of the best, most rewarding years of my life. The second year was also great. We went fully absurdist and put on a variety show called Spunky Pickle Pancake, which was the name of a play that we wrote that was just absolute nonsense delivered by actors with very strong emotion, but the words made no sense. Again, one of my favorite things. Also, a dramatic monologue of a Flash animation called Magical Trevor, which, if any of you know what that is, please tell me. Please tell me that Magical Trevor still exists out there somewhere. The early days of the internet, not the early days of, kind of the early days of the internet, but certainly the early days of video on the internet, live streaming, that didn't exist. It was all Flash animation and Homestar Runner. God, I miss those days. Anyway, but that right there is kind of what this is for, is just to sort of go off on a wistful tangent every once in a while. So please come with me on my wistful tangents. The point of this story is that as you get older and as you start to go from, the safety of an educational or a very, kind of closed environment where you're not worrying about how do I pay for space? How do I pay for marketing? Our marketing was printing out flyers and posting them up around campus. Come to this event. Facebook didn't even really exist back then. I could go on and on about my college days and how you wouldn't believe it. It would be, to a lot of you younger kids watching, it would sound like a completely different universe. And we didn't have to worry about any of that. And because it was such a small campus and it was a closed campus, so for 4 years, everyone was living on that campus, it was a captive audience in a lot of ways. Also, captive in the sense that this was northern Wisconsin, and you couldn't have cars on campus, and you were stuck with whatever you could walk to. In hindsight, we probably should have done our plays in January when literally nobody could go anywhere. We did them in spring like idiots when people could walk around. These are the things you think about when you think about marketing, and then you give half a shit about getting people to your show. Anyway, so that's the kind of art that I love doing when I get the chance to do whatever I want. Nonsense and things that, make me smile and make people like me smile. And as you get older, that kind of stuff kind of takes a back seat to your needs, mostly financial, a lot of them practical. Finding when it comes to plays and it comes to later on when I was doing web shorts and web series, finding your locations, finding your crew, finding equipment, all of these things that you need to deal with when you're trying to produce as a career. One of the productions that I was on, my last film production that I was on, my last big one, was I'm still very proud of what we were able to do. It was a web series about two women who worked in the adult film industry. One was an actress, one was a director, her director. And it was about them, throwing off their, kind of corporate studio and going off and making their own adult film and sort of the trials and tribulations. And it doesn't come from life in the sense that I've ever worked in the adult film industry, or anyone on the set had probably heard the cinema verite of it. It was a comedy, so it wasn't meant to be like gritty. It was meant to be funny. But it did partially come from the trials of just general independent production. I really liked it. Looking back, there are things I would obviously have changed, but I think what ended up essentially burning me out, burning a lot of us out, and there were a lot of things that ended up not moving forward with that project, but it was the marketing of it. We put all of this, love and effort into creating this product. And for what we had a budget of like $5,000 or something. We ran a Kickstarter this was 2013 or whatever, back when Kickstarter was like, nobody had heard of it, or it was very tiny. And it was just sort of the creators that knew about it. It's not what it is now, which is massive and great. And, for $5,000 to put together a 6-episode, full episodes, 20-minute episodes series, I think we did a really good job. But that marketing part that we weren't expecting, and, still with, YouTube just kind of coming up, nobody was, and oh my God, just all the things that have changed in the last 12 years. Nobody was I think House of Cards, if anyone remembers House of Cards, the very first series online that was never broadcast, that hadn't come out yet when we were doing this, or it was just out. Nothing streaming had been nominated. I don't think Hulu existed, or it was very new. All of these things. Disney didn't have a streaming service. There was none of that. Nobody was watching full-length entertainment online back then. We didn't know how to market this thing. And given that the subject matter was controversial, that was another issue. All of this is to say, when you're trying to make money with your art, when you're trying to be a business as an artist, you start making compromises in terms of, what is the audience going to take? How can I position this? Is there a market for it? And if so, what are they willing to spend on it? And ideas that you think are pretty great, things that you in another world might explore, get shoved away and they get buried. I've had a number of ideas like that. I've had a number of ideas that I've executed that don't do what I want them to do because I messed up the marketing, or I didn't have, they're just not what works. And I think particularly with the rise of, the algorithmic sort of state of our marketplace, it's become even harder to branch out because the algorithm wants you to be predictable, because then it knows where to put you. And if you're doing lots of different things, or you're doing weird things that define category, it doesn't know what to do with you. And as much as an algorithm can get angry, I think it kind of just says, well, this is just noise, this is trash, nobody wants this, and even if they do, I don't know how to deal with it, so I'm just gonna pretend it's not there. And that's, I think, beyond any sort of like manipulation, like preferential manipulation and things like that, in terms of suppression, which I'm not going to get into, but like that's just the way the algorithm, that's the algorithm working, is it's supposed to look at audience preferences, match them, and anything else it just kind of throws away. And it sorts people into boxes too. So, you know, it's just the algorithm is simplifying our culture in a way that sort of defies experiment. So that's tricky. And that's a very long way of saying I'm here to support anyone who wants to do weird things and either can't because they don't know how to market it and they don't think they know how to make money at it, or is doing it and is struggling and just needs some support. Now, if you've seen some of my marketing, I've said I don't have any answers here. I probably don't. This isn't really a show about answers. This is a show about anxiety, I guess. It's a show about support. It's a place to just be annoyed and share, you know, your ideas, share what you're frustrated about, share what you're happy about, share success. Man, if anyone can beat these algorithms and, you know, get successful with something strange, that would be great. Something truly bizarre that shouldn't work but does. I would love that. And that's what I'm here for. And once again, this is not going to be a series, like, and I think sort of on purpose, it's a series that doesn't really lend itself to easy explanation. I'm going to try. It's a conversational collaboration show where I want people to interact. So again, if you're out there, enter the chat, say hi, say hello, tell me where you are, tell me what's going on. I'm going to hang out for a couple more minutes, but that's pretty much what's going on. So one thing I have learned about marketing is to, and this is kind of from a startup perspective, is to kind of get in, gather information, and then see what's working. And in the ways that this show will maybe not fit a lot of formats, it is going to fit that one. So this show, I think, is going to run for about 12 weeks. Until the end of June, and then kind of as an experiment, we'll see what we can do. I'm hoping to get some guests on, some friends to come and talk to me, so I'm not just, chatting to either nobody or, we're just all sitting here staring at each other. Or we can sit and stare at each other too. That's fine. I might do crafts on the show. We'll see. It's very, very unclear about where, like, what's going to actually be happening on the show, but I know what I'm hoping for in terms of conversation and who I'm hoping will come on and say hi. So since yes, this is kind of all I have for you today. If you have any comments, hi, that's my husband. Hello. Thank you for watching. Oh, I love you. I appreciate that, honey. He's downstairs watching my son right now. Our son, not my son. Sorry. I'm used to just saying that because he's not here, and to you, it's just my son. But yes. Anyway, that's not relevant. Or really, it is relevant. Everything's relevant on this show. Whatever you guys want to talk about, whatever I feel like talking about. So, yeah, we'll keep this relatively short here at 20 minutes. I mean, not short, but whatever. It's fine. So, yeah, if you're interested in continuing to follow this show. Please do subscribe to the channel, like the show, share it with your friends. I will be having, some much shorter, more like concrete, maybe a little glib promotion on my social media. You can follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, tell your friends, especially the ones that are doing weird stuff and stuff that they're having trouble getting out there. I can't really help with promotion, although I'll do my best with what resources I have. But mostly it's just so we can support each other. I think that's everything. I threw my Post-it note on the floor a while ago, so that's part of the reason why this has been so kind of crazy. But yes, so we'll call it there. I hope you guys have a great Sunday, and I will see you next week. Bye.